Let's look at America. We brought blacks into this country as slaves. We never intended them to be anything other than a slave. But they began to grow in number and in power, and eventually they fought their way to some freedom. So we became even more cruel, and to keep our black Americans down, we lynched. But yet they rose. So then we used the welfare system, the criminal justice system, to keep them down, to contain them, to destroy them. But yet they rose, and they're rising. Then we built prisons and jails to hold them. Yet they rose.
Hello Internet, welcome back to the channel, and for those that are joining us for the first time, welcome as well. Hit that subscription button and ring that notification bell so whenever we have a new video uploaded, you will be notified. So today in this video, I want us to talk about, to maybe just appreciate the sheer resilience, or to recognize the toughness of the people of the black race or the black community. And I know when we talk about the black people of, black race, people might automatically just think about, Africa. But we might want to just set Africa on the side for a minute today, and let's just narrow down or specify to the black Americans or African Americans, however you might want to call them. So, black Americans are our brothers for us from Africa, and we appreciate them, we love them, we always try to welcome them back home, and many of them also want to come home, and we appreciate when they come back home. We take them, and they need to feel at home because they belong here. However, in this video, we can just give, pay a little attention to even appreciate their resilience, without thinking about, them relocating, moving back to Africa, or, thinking about, because the odds have always honestly been against African Americans. I'd love to call them, to be describing them as black Americans in this video for some reason, because that is who they really are. And I'm not trying to deny about anything with their African roots, not at all. I love them and I welcome them to Africa anytime, any day, anywhere. But for the sake of this video, we might want to describe them as black Americans for this one reason. America has a majority of white people. It's funny that these white people do not want to, we never hear people describing them as European Americans. Hey, European Americans. No, they just term themselves as white people. And they're not, we all know the truth that historically these people are European Americans, just like African Americans are black Americans. The white Americans are European Americans for that matter, and nobody ever talks about this. They are not the native, the indigenous, or the original settlers of the Americas. In the European conquest for America, or rather for the world, because these people conquered everywhere, there's one thing that, going through history and literature and reading, there's one thing I might have noted about people of the white race, or the white skin color, if, we might call them So, is one thing you notice about them is their insatiable desire for more, to conquer, to get more, to just, dominate. But the problem here is that might be a good thing sometimes, but there is a very thin line between that and greed. And when greed comes into the picture, you definitely know that it's 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 a negative uh, um, thing for people, because the rights and the privileges of other people will be trodden for as long as at any time there is greed. Yeah? In a conquest of America, or the Americas, by the Europeans, a lot of greed is depicted right there, and they used a lot of malice and malicious tact, to decimate the originals or the natives of that land. And today they boast, they chest thumb as if they belong there originally, but they don't. They need to give us space. They need to give our brothers, the Black Americans, an opportunity to breathe and to feel at home in America. Or if at all they are always going to be reminded about their African roots, then they should also be reminded about their European roots. That's fair. I personally would not advocate for any kind of oppression, be it a white man to a black man or a person of color to a white man. No. But look, during that conquest, they used a lot of malice, and that we need to always call out. We need to tell them that we know that these are the things that happen. And the white man never ever wants their history and their people and themselves to be touched negatively. They will always remind us about the Holocaust everywhere, and that it was a serious crime decades ago right now. But for Africans, 50 years down the line, whatever they did in Africa, enslavement of people, the massacres and everything, and forceful evictions and forcefully dominating us, they're not taken as serious as the Holocaust, but it is exactly the same thing. Now, just like in Africa, they used military conquest. They even used, they weaponized disease and other biological warfares to decimate the local populations. And there was even, there was forceful assimilation. Like, we can't just take people as they are and let them be and appreciate that we're different, but it is okay. That forceful assimilation, they have to be like you, they have to look like you. No, not the best thing that people could have done, that the white person could. So in this video, when we talk about the sheer resilience of the black people, is despite all odds always being against the black person has continued to rise against anything, against all factors that are against an unjust social system, So why don't we really appreciate that these people are strong?
So until we admit that when we wrote this Constitution that all men are created equal, that we never intended to include our black brothers and sisters, our nation may end up facing exactly what the Egyptians faced when they refused to let God's people go. So I'm going to say this to my white fellow Americans, that the bloodshed that is on its way is not on the hands of our fellow black Americans, but is on our hands. We are the ones that are refusing to let God's people go. We are the ones that are refusing to acknowledge that we do not value our black brothers and sisters as equal individuals or equal Americans as us white men. And to my black brothers and sisters, the racial issues, as I've said, have been there from the very foundation. But why do we see it more? Because there's a shifting. See, us white men have been at the head since the foundation. But we've had a black president. And you know, we've done everything in our power to keep him from really changing things. Now we have another minority rising to the top, a white female. What does that say? Those of us who are white men who have been at the head are now starting to see and fear that we are going to become the tail. And we know what we've done to you. And so now we're fearful that you're going to do to us what we have done to you. But I will say this. I've lived in a black community for 23 years. I've never been treated the way that this country has treated my black Americans. So I call out my white Americans to say we better heed, repent, acknowledge, and change. Because if we don't, I just want to again say this. The bloodshed that we will experience is on our hands, not the hands of our fellow black Americans.
Today, the white man is afraid that they are going to lose power. They are going to lose the hem, the summit of, and they have been used to being on top. And they already realize that this black person is going to topple them. They are going to be, evicted from that front line position they are used to and everything that comes with that, and someone else that they deem they have always wanted to make them look inferior is going to take that. The population of the Native Americans is probably the least when it comes to the racial or the ethnic, composition of America. But for the black people, they are growing. And Africa in itself is growing. If Africa didn't stand strong against the white man, maybe there would have not been Africa today. They might have been the owners, like that, the owners of America on this land today. Okay? So it's time that the white man gave the black person some space, appreciated them, and given them space to grow and just become themselves. And I believe that we can live together, we can coexist. Like I have always said in my videos, we all belong to this planet equally, and we have to live here together and equally as well. None of us should be made to feel inferior. None of us should be made to feel like they do not belong here. Or none of us should actually make others feel like they belong here more than others do. But white people in America want to make the black person feel like, I belong to this country more than you do. You can go back to Africa, you belong to Africa, but you also belong to Europe or wherever you have come from. And despite all that, the Black American has continued to grow in size, and in power. So let's appreciate them. Let's just clap for them. Let's give them their flowers. That in as much as, and I know that there is a huge movement of Black people having that desire to find their roots, come back home to Africa because they feel welcome here and they just feel like this is their home. They have always been made to feel like they're not at home. But still, I know that there are those Black Americans that still want to fight for their space in this country. And we must stand with them. We have to stand with them. For those that are willing to come back home, well and good. You're welcome. Come home. In fact, you can as well belong here and belong to that other place. It's very okay. Even those people, the white person belongs to Europe and America. So it is okay for you to belong to both Africa and America as well. So guys, this is just an appreciation video to let the Black community know that we see their effort and that they need to continue to fight for their space, because if we don't come out to fight for ourselves, there is nobody that's going to fight for us. These people are not going to fight for us. And sometimes there are a lot of other things that we need to be careful about. Sometimes your closest friend, or that person that you think is your best friend, or that person that you think is up to good for you, might not be up to exactly that they're trying to show, So we need to stand up and fight for ourselves as Africans. And then as the Black people of America must also stand up and fight for themselves, fight for their space. And we have to back them up. We all as a Black people must stand against white supremacy and discrimination and injustice and take our space in Africa, in America, and even in Europe, because we have taken them. They came to Africa and they lied to us. They first came with the as explorers and then missionaries that they were going to teach us about their God, and tell us so much stories about how our gods, or how the African God is not the and then we have the true God here, guys. And this is, and then before we know it, they subdue us, just like they did to the American Indians, or the Alaskan natives, or even the Aboriginals of Australia, and it's only that the Black person has been very tough. Despite all that, we still stood against that. We persevered and persisted, and today we hold the future is in our hands. A future of ourselves and of this world is on the hands of the Black person. And we need to realize that. We need to stay woke, and we need to come to terms and realize that it is our time, and we have to take charge. So guys, before we end this video, I would just like to get your reactions, your comments, and you know, your positions on these and what you think about, you know, everything in this video. Give me a comment down below, and like this video. Please share this video, and most importantly, hit the subscription button to become part of this community as we continue to empower the Black person and as we continue to empower mankind. So until next time, peace.